Lionel Richie's legacy is often described in terms of music, fame, and timeless hits, but those descriptions only scratch the surface. His life is not simply a story of success. It is a study in endurance, restraint, and emotional truth. For more than 5 decades, he has occupied a rare space in global culture, where songs do more than entertain. They become emotional landmarks in people's lives. His voice has guided listeners through heartbreak, hope, longing, and joy, offering a sense of connection that transcends generations. Yet, behind that steady, reassuring presence lies a man shaped not by ease, but by pressure, discipline, and deeply personal challenges. His journey reveals that greatness is rarely loud or sudden. Instead, it is built quietly in moments of doubt, recovery, and persistence. From his early years in a structured household to the heights of international stardom, and through periods of loss and reinvention, Richie's life reflects a consistent theme. Resilience is not an act, but a habit. This story is not just about music. It is about the cost of sustaining excellence, the courage required to evolve, and the quiet strength it takes to keep going when the world is no longer watching as closely. Foundations of discipline. Growing up in Tuskegee, Lionel Richie's early life in Tuskegee, Alabama, was defined by structure, expectation, and a deep-rooted sense of purpose. Born into an environment shaped by education and legacy, he grew up surrounded by the influence of achievement and discipline. His parents, both accomplished in their respective roles, believed in standards that prioritized excellence over emotional expression. In their home, love was present, but it was rarely soft or openly comforting. Instead, it was communicated through correction, guidance, and the insistence on doing things the right way. This environment taught Richie early on that approval was something to be earned. Mistakes were not dismissed. They were addressed and remembered. As a result, he developed a careful, measured way of moving through the world. He learned to observe before speaking, to adjust rather than react, and to maintain composure even when emotions ran deep. This foundation would later become one of his greatest strengths. While others might crumble under scrutiny, Richie had already been conditioned to endure it. His upbringing did not encourage vulnerability, but it did cultivate resilience. And though he sometimes longed to be heard more openly, the discipline instilled in him became the framework upon which his future success would be built. The piano as sanctuary, discovering emotional expression amid the structured environment of his childhood, there was one place where Lionel Richie found freedom: his grandmother's living room. There, an upright piano stood quietly, offering something he rarely experienced elsewhere: acceptance without judgment. Unlike the rest of his world, the piano did not demand perfection or correction. It responded to him exactly as he was. He would sit close, feeling the vibrations travel through his body, discovering a form of communication that required no explanation. Music became his refuge, a place where emotion could exist without restraint. His grandmother, a classically trained musician, filled the home with melodies that carried both complexity and warmth. Through her influence, Richie began to understand that music was not just sound, it was expression, connection, and release. This realization marked a turning point in his development. While his external world emphasized control, the piano allowed him to explore feeling. It gave him a language for the emotions he had learned to suppress. Over time, this balance between discipline and expression became central to his identity. He did not abandon structure. Instead, he integrated it with creativity. The result was a unique emotional depth that would later define his songwriting and performances, resonating with audiences on a deeply personal level. Awareness and adaptation, navigating a complex world as Richie grew older, his awareness of the world around him deepened. The social and cultural climate of the time required careful navigation, particularly for a young black man striving for visibility and success. He learned early that being seen came with responsibility and risk. Excellence was not just a goal, it was a necessity. Mistakes could carry consequences far beyond personal disappointment. This awareness sharpened his instincts and reinforced his tendency towards self-control. When his family moved to Illinois, he carried these lessons with him into new environments. At school, he excelled academically and athletically, but he remained cautious in how he presented himself. Others sometimes misinterpreted his focus as arrogance, not realizing it was a form of self-preservation. Internally, his mind was constantly active, filled with melodies and ideas he could not yet fully articulate. Later identified as ADHD, this mental energy became both a challenge and a gift. Rather than allowing it to overwhelm him, Richie learned to channel it into music. He developed the ability to organize chaos into rhythm, turning restlessness into creativity. This adaptability became a defining trait, enabling him to navigate complex environments while continuing to grow artistically and personally. The leap into uncertainty, forming the Commodores at 19, Lionel Richie stepped beyond the security of his upbringing and into the uncertainty of the music industry. With limited resources but strong determination, he joined forces with a group of friends to form a band that would eventually become the Commodores. Their early days were far from glamorous. They traveled long distances in unreliable vehicles, performed in small venues, and faced constant rejection. Success did not arrive quickly or easily. Instead, it was built through persistence and belief. Night after night, they played for modest audiences, often earning little more than enough to continue. These experiences tested Richie's resolve, forcing him to confront doubt and disappointment. Yet, they also strengthened his commitment to his craft. He began to understand that success in music required more than talent. It demanded endurance. Each performance, no matter how small, became an opportunity to improve and connect. Over time, the band's sound evolved and their presence grew. What started as a hopeful experiment gradually transformed into a legitimate career. For Richie, this period was crucial. It taught him that rejection was not an endpoint, but a step in the process. The resilience he developed during these years would carry him through the many challenges that lay ahead. Rising to stardom, emotion meets universality as the Commodores gained recognition. Lionel Richie's ability to connect emotionally with audiences became increasingly evident. His songwriting stood out not because it was complex, but because it was honest. He had a unique talent for capturing universal feelings in simple, relatable ways. Songs about love, longing, and connection resonated deeply with listeners, allowing them to see their own experiences reflected in his music. This emotional accessibility became his signature. When he transitioned into a solo career, that connection only grew stronger. His voice carried a sense of sincerity that made even the grandest performances feel personal. He was not just singing to audiences, he was communicating with them. This ability elevated him beyond typical celebrity status, turning him into a cultural figure whose work transcended trends. Yet, with this success came increased pressure. Expectations grew, and the demand to maintain relevance intensified. Richie handled this by relying on the same principles that had guided him from the beginning: discipline, authenticity, and emotional awareness. He did not chase change for its own sake. Instead, he remained grounded in what made his music meaningful. This consistency allowed him to sustain his career while continuing to evolve artistically. Personal struggles, success, and its hidden costs behind the public image of success. Lionel Richie faced personal challenges that were far less visible. 2 marriages ended in divorce, leaving emotional impacts that could not be easily dismissed. At the same time, his health became a serious concern. Multiple surgeries on his vocal cords threatened not only his career, but also a core part of his identity. For someone whose life revolved around music, the possibility of losing his voice was deeply unsettling. These experiences forced him to confront vulnerability in ways he had long avoided. The discipline that had once helped him succeed now had to be applied to healing and recovery. There were moments of isolation where the noise of fame faded and he was left to face his own limitations. These periods were not defined by dramatic breakthroughs, but by gradual adjustments. He learned to listen to his body, to respect its boundaries, and to prioritize long-term well-being over short-term performance. This shift in perspective marked a turning point. Rather than viewing setbacks as failures, he began to see them as opportunities to recalibrate. The challenges he faced did not diminish his legacy, they deepened it, adding layers of authenticity and resilience to his story. Rediscovery and recovery, rebuilding from within after years of strain and uncertainty, Lionel Richie entered a period of recovery that was both physical and emotional. This phase was not about returning to his former self, but about becoming someone more balanced and aware. He stepped away from the relentless pace of touring and performance, allowing himself time to heal. This decision required humility, as it meant acknowledging that even success has limits. During this time, he focused on rebuilding his voice carefully, treating it with the respect it deserved. He also began to reassess his lifestyle, making changes that supported long-term health. These included adjustments to his routine, diet, and daily habits. More importantly, he developed a new relationship with rest, recognizing it as a necessity rather than a weakness. This period of introspection allowed him to reconnect with the core reasons he pursued music in the first place. When he eventually returned to the stage, it was not with the same urgency as before. Instead, there was a sense of calm and control. His performances reflected not just technical skill, but lived experience. The voice that emerged was steadier, more intentional, and deeply grounded in the lessons he had learned along the way. A new chapter, stability over spectacle in later years, Lionel Richie's life took on a quieter, more grounded rhythm. His relationship with Lisa Parigi introduced a sense of stability that contrasted with the turbulence of his earlier personal life. Their connection was not built on spectacle or public validation, but on mutual understanding and consistency. This shift reflected a broader change in Richie's priorities. He moved away from the need for constant recognition and toward a more balanced existence. His home became a place of refuge rather than display, and his daily routines emphasized health, reflection, and simplicity. Activities like walking, yoga, and mindful living replaced the chaos of constant travel. This lifestyle allowed him to maintain both physical and emotional well-being. Importantly, it also influenced his perspective on success. He began to value continuity over intensity, recognizing that longevity requires sustainability. This approach extended to his music and public presence, where he focused on authenticity rather than performance for its own sake. By embracing a slower, more intentional pace, Richie demonstrated that growth does not stop with age, it evolves. His life became an example of how to transition from ambition to fulfillment without losing purpose. Legacy beyond music, family, and influence, Lionel Richie's impact extends far beyond his musical achievements. As a father, he has played a significant role in shaping the lives of his children, each of whom has pursued their own path. He has spoken openly about the importance of presence and consistency in parenting, acknowledging that success in one area does not guarantee success in another. This awareness has guided his approach to family life, emphasizing connection over image. In addition to his role as a parent, Richie has become a mentor to younger artists, offering guidance based on experience rather than authority. His involvement in platforms like talent shows reflects a commitment to nurturing authenticity in others. He encourages emerging musicians to focus on truth rather than perfection, reinforcing the values that have defined his own career. Beyond entertainment, his philanthropic efforts demonstrate a broader sense of responsibility. Inspired by personal experiences and family influences, he has contributed to causes related to health, education, and global welfare. These actions highlight a key aspect of his legacy. It is not confined to what he has achieved, but includes what he has given. His influence continues to shape not only music, but also the lives of those he reaches. Financial wisdom. Building sustainable success, unlike many artists who rely heavily on touring or short-term popularity, Lionel Richie approached his finances with long-term strategy. His wealth is not simply a result of record sales, but of careful planning and ownership. By maintaining control over his music catalog and engaging in diverse revenue streams, he created a financial foundation that could endure beyond active performance. This approach reflects the same discipline that shaped his personal and professional life. He understood early on that success is not just about earning, but about managing and preserving. His investments in property, licensing, and media appearances demonstrate a balanced approach to wealth. Rather than pursuing extravagance, he focused on sustainability. His lifestyle, while luxurious, is characterized by intention rather than excess. Each asset serves a purpose, contributing to a broader sense of stability. This financial perspective reinforces a central theme in his life. Longevity requires structure. By aligning his financial decisions with his values, Richie ensured that his success would not be fleeting. Instead, it became a lasting resource, supporting both his personal life and his ongoing contributions to the industry. Conclusion: the true meaning of resilience. Lionel Richie's life offers a powerful reminder that resilience is not defined by dramatic moments, but by consistent choices. His journey, from a disciplined upbringing to global fame, through personal challenges and eventual renewal, illustrates the importance of balance, adaptability, and self-awareness. He did not avoid hardship, he learned from it. He did not chase perfection, he pursued growth. In doing so, he redefined what it means to succeed. His story shows that true strength lies not in maintaining an image, but in evolving with honesty. Whether through music, relationships, or personal reflection, he has demonstrated that it is possible to rebuild, to recalibrate, and to continue forward with purpose. As he moves through later stages of life, his focus is no longer on proving himself, but on honoring the journey that brought him here. That perspective, more than any award or achievement, defines his legacy. It reminds us that resilience is not loud or visible. It is steady, intentional, and deeply human.